Hello, my name is Bob Burgundy from Haroun News Network, that's HNN, and I've got breaking news for you. It looks like technology behemoth Apple is trying to buy Nintendo. Breaking news, breaking news. I don't know if the deal will go through. I have to ask a number of our strategic advisors here to help us out to find out if this deal in fact will go through. And so the first strategic advisor that I want to ask is an expert in economics management and strategy. He works at a consulting firm called McKinsey, and his name is Chip Patterson. Chip, What are your thoughts? Yes, thank you, Bob, for that introduction. This is an extraordinary deal, and I think it might make sense, but I'm not really sure yet. And so, here at McKinsey & Company, we pride ourselves on advising the most incredible companies and government agencies in the world. And so, by the end of this MBA degree program, my fellow classmates here will help me to analyze if this extraordinary deal makes a lot of sense or not. Thank you, and cheerio. Thank you, Chip. The next expert we're going to ask is a finance and accounting expert who works at an investment bank called MHS, Morgan Haroun Sachs. His name is Gordon Lizard. Gordon, what are your thoughts on this deal?
Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate it, So here at Morgan Haroun Sachs, MHS actually, we're going to do a really deep dive to understand the financial statements of, Nintendo and Apple. And I pride myself on being an amazing investment banker. And we're actually going to have a lot of my fellow students here during the Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program help me to build out the financials. And don't worry, I know a lot of us don't understand how finance and accounting works, but we will by the end of this MBA degree program. In fact, here's what we're going to do, We're going to figure it all out together. We're going to create the financial model, meaning the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, etc., for Nintendo as well as for Apple. And it's a bit complicated because Nintendo's an international company, and so their financial statements are a little bit different from Apple, but we're going to figure it out, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to value the company using discounted cash flow, as well as price earnings multiple, price to revenue, and other metrics as well. And so that by the end of this MBA degree program, we will know how much Apple should potentially pay for Nintendo. Thanks, Bob. Back to you.
Thank you, Gordon. Our next expert is somebody that knows a lot about sales, marketing, and communication, and his name is Stephen Ive. Stephen, you work at Apple. What are your thoughts on this deal?
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. Thanks. It's going to be important for me to convince our board and shareholders to approve of the deal. And I'm not much of a presenter, but I know that a lot of my fellow students here in the Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program are going to be able to help me to learn how to present much better in the SMC classes, that's sales, marketing, and communication classes, so that they'll give me advice, and together we'll be able to learn how to present to the board of Apple and the shareholders to convince them to the deal makes sense or if it doesn't. Thank you, Bob. Back to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Our next expert is an entrepreneurship expert named Tony Shark. Now, Tony was about to sign an exclusive contract with Apple for his virtual reality goggles and his company, Shark Virtual Reality. Tony, is this deal still going through for you, or because Nintendo has a great VR product, does Apple no longer need you, Tony? And what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So I was supposed to sign this exclusive contract with Apple for my, Shark virtual reality goggles. I think our product is a lot better than Nintendo's. And in the entrepreneurship track of this MBA degree program, my fellow students and I are going to work on a way to sell this product to Apple. And so this product's amazing. There's a hardware component to it, which has low margins. And then there's a software component to it with media, which is where you stream it, and it's really high margins. We got a great product here, much better than anybody else in the market. And so, last thing I'll say, Bob, and thanks again for having me on your show, is that by the end of this MBA degree program, my fellow classmates and I will be armed with this, and we'll have what it takes to be able to succeed in business and take our careers to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Our next guest is somebody off the street here, a random person I just met whose goal is to work at Apple. I want to ask you, from a personal growth perspective, how do you think you can get a job at Apple. So this guy's name here is Joe Jobs. How are you going to get that job?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Bob. I really appreciate it. So my dream has always been to work at Apple, and I think I got what it takes. And I know that my fellow classmates and I in this Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program, in the personal growth classes, we're going to learn just a ton so that we can all get the job of our dreams. We'll learn how to interview and all that stuff. But I'm looking forward to getting a lot of help from my fellow classmates so that we can get that dream job. I think I got what it takes. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Joe. Well, there you have it. We talked to 5 experts who are going to help us understand how this deal is structured, if this deal will go through and whatnot. And by the end of this Haroun Education Ventures MBA degree program, you will all be armed with enough skills to understand from 5 different perspectives whether or not this deal makes sense. And those 5 perspectives are as follows: economics management and strategy, sales, marketing and communication, entrepreneurship, personal growth, and finance and accounting. I'm Bob Burgundy signing out here from Haroun News Network's HNN.
Welcome to our 200th weekly webcast. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me for the past 4 or 5 years. It's been a lot of fun, but we're just getting started. So thank you. So I'm going to get to your questions in a minute, and please stick around because one person on this call is going to win my gold MBA program, which starts on September 30th. Okay, so the next MBA program starts on Friday, September 30th. Okay, the Gold and Platinum program. It's our 5th time doing our 5th annual event. And so it's going to be every Friday starting September 30th from 9 a.m. Pacific time until 3 p.m. Pacific time. And to learn more or to set up a one-on-one call with me, one-on-one Zoom call, please go to the web link below. Now, one thing I want to share with you guys is something I'm adding very, very soon to the program. Initially, I wanted to teach you guys about programming. And because I coded a lot when I was a kid back in the 90s when I worked at Accenture. I was going to add this to the curriculum this November by Black Friday. Because I got COVID in the summer, it's delayed. It's going to come out in January. So if anybody that's ever bought my MBA degree program or is going to buy it, you'll get this free and all the technology stuff as well. And the way I'm going to be teaching programming is very, very different as well. So programming is not taught in a visual way. It's not fun and engaging. So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you all how to program. And what we're going to do initially is we're going to kick it off with learning how to program through Excel. Now I'll show you these props here in a second. Again, this comes out exclusively to my MBA degree program students, whether you bought in the past or in the future. Okay. So the way I'm going to set it up is I'm going to teach you Excel from scratch. As with all of my content, there's various tracks as well, so I can appeal to a large total addressable market. And then what I'll do also is I'll provide you with design elements as well in terms of how to create an incredible application, an incredible dashboard within Excel. I'm also going to teach you every single formula they have. And then here's the important part, which is programming. Okay. So here in the programming side here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you programming step by step within Excel. Now, Excel is the best way to learn programming. And the reason I say that is because in Excel, you record yourself with macros. So you can record yourself creating a couple of cells, perhaps making font bold, etc., or exporting a PDF. And the way that you do it is you hit record and then the code's created for you. Then you can go into the code, right, by looking at the Visual Basic Editor, and you can manipulate that code as well. And so those are called subs, okay? And at the bottom of the sub is called the end sub. And inside are all the coding elements, which I'm going to teach you from scratch, okay? And then there's a module. All these subs go into a module, and then modules go directly into a project. Okay, so I'm going to teach it to you guys this way as well with functions, etc. And then once we finish this, and I teach you how to code this way, and I was a coder again back in the 1990s. I am that old, but I'm happy. After I teach you that, I'll teach you Python as well and every other programming language that makes sense for you to learn. And the way I've architected this MBA degree program is that it's future-proofed. So what that means is if there are technologies that are going to be relevant to all of you in your careers in the future, I'll add that to the program. And as I look at my children, they're a bit older now. They look good in blue. As I look at my children, I think to myself, their jobs haven't been invented yet, and neither have the ways that they communicate with each other. So whether it's YouTube, a different social media platform, whatever it is, or different programming languages, I will add that to the program as well. I'm also adding virtual reality stuff to the program as well. I'm going to teach you also how to create NFTs, and these will all be electives. And so in my MBA degree program, there's 5 core parts, as Bob Burgundy explained earlier today. And the 6th one I'm adding, which comes this January, is going to be technology. So I hope you enjoy it. And when we program, and when we do anything in business, we have to think like the person at the other end of the table. So we think like the software platform as well. And so the way that a program will make this eraser turn green, for example, which is my second favorite color after blue, is it goes big to small. So it goes pencil.eraser.color equals green. So I'm going to teach all of that to you. And if you guys are unfortunate enough to meet me one day, you'll see I'm a very small man. That's awful dad humor. I'm sorry. There's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee on the MBA program. My dad humor is awful. Awful. Okay, cool. And let me just show you quickly before I get to your questions, a couple other things I added to the program. So I also added this to the program as well. And this right here, when I worked on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs, and I worked at a big hedge fund called Citadel, and I worked in the venture capital sector, I created this framework to be able to analyze companies. So whether it's a public company or a private company, you can use this framework as well. And again, this is exclusive to my MBA degree program students. And it's basically a 100-step dashboard for analyzing companies. And you fill in all of the text boxes, and then what happens is a massive dashboard is created for you here with tons of graphics, etc. And this is just dummy data here. And then out of this comes a 1-page report. Okay, and there's about 1,000 fields that feed directly into this, so that when you hit print, a 1-pager will print up here as a PDF if you want. Okay, or you can print to paper, of course. What also comes out of this is a detailed 150-page report as well. And each of these steps here, okay, there's 3 categories of ways to analyze companies. There's qualitative, quantitative, and then there's financial. But each of these steps here feeds directly into that report that I talked about. And each step also, let me pick a random one here, stock details. You can click here to watch a video to learn about how to do that step. So I've created one for all 100 steps as well. Again, this is in the MBA degree program. One last thing I'm going to show you quickly, and I'll get to your questions, is in the 3rd semester, the most popular part of my MBA program is the venture capital bootcamp. And it's based on my experience working in venture capital. I invested in my fund, in my VC fund in Facebook before it went public. I also was part of the Stanford University Graduate School of Business MBA program curriculum, mentoring students. And so I took all that stuff and I put it together into this venture capital program as well. In my MBA program, I provide you with all the tools and templates that you need to be able to take your career to the next level, so I can help you work smarter and not harder. Now, to learn more about my MBA program, you can go to harounmba.com and click here to learn more, or you can get a one-on-one with me as well. We can do a 20-minute confidential one-on-one Zoom meeting, and I'll talk to you about what's in the program and if it's right for you. Okay, let me get to your questions. If I can find where the hell I was here. Here we go. Fun. All right, question time. Thank you. All right, let me kick it off with Alex P. Alex P. Keaton wrote, "Good morning, Chris. Congratulations on 200 live streams. Hell yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Great to have you here." And then you wrote here, "I had this scenario where I was on an elevator with a senior EVP that I admire in a Fortune 500 company I work at. I feel I present myself well during the quick interaction. My question for you is, in a hypothetical situation, If you're on the elevator with a senior executive and you're one-on-one with him or her, how do you present yourself to them in those 30 to 45 seconds? What is your pitch? Yeah, this is a great question. So I remember when I used to work at Goldman Sachs years ago, I get nervous when I was in an elevator and there's a senior executive there. I remember one day there was this guy named Bob Steele, who was executive vice chairman of the firm at the time. And I was in the elevator with him, and there's somebody else there too, and I didn't know what to say. And so I said, "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Right? And he kind of looked at me like, and they lose respect for you when you don't act yourself. Okay, so just kind of, I don't know, be yourself. You can just say something like, "Hey, how you doing? You see the game last night?" Whatever it is. Don't be uptight like I was. Okay, because I remember after the elevator ride at One New York Plaza, from the 49th floor down to the first floor, which felt like forever. After the elevator ride, I asked myself, did I sound smart? Did I say something? Did that help my career or not? And it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And I think he probably lost a little bit of respect for me as well. So you just got to be yourself. And other people around you, like your colleagues, if they see that you're not yourself, they'll lose respect for you as well. So just pretend that this person is your aunt or uncle you haven't seen in a while, and just be yourself. Just be laid back. You know, because as Dr. Seuss said, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Be you. Everybody else is taken. Yeah. And when you go to an interview as well, and I remember I went on this streak where I couldn't get a job for a while, and I prepared like crazy for interviews. And I just wasn't myself. It was kind of robotic, you know, like Mark Zuckerberg testifying in front of Congress. Huh! That's how he laughs. Yeah. I wasn't myself. And I couldn't get a job, man. And so I went to an interview finally, and I was like, I don't really care if I get this job. And I was just myself. And, you know, we talked about the weather, we talked about sports, and I ended up getting that job. I'm not telling you to be rude or disingenuous or too laid back, but just, you know, be yourself. Just chill out and don't worry about it. I promise you it works. And one little tip I have before you do an informational meeting or an interview with anybody is I want you to go to their Twitter profile, okay? And I want you to see, you know, what are their interests? You know, if they love baseball, you could talk about baseball in the meeting. You know, sports is great boardroom talk because you can spark up a conversation based on any city in the world with any sport you're passionate about. And what I did years ago in the hedge fund industry, and this is crazy, but there was this guy that I was interviewing with, and he was a massive New York Rangers hockey fan. And so what I did on my Nintendo GameCube in 2002, before I interviewed with him, was I bought this NHL game and I played as the Rangers for a while, just so I can kind of understand a little bit more about the team. A little bit crazy, I know. The bottom line is this, and I'm rambling, I know. The bottom line is that if before your informational meeting, go to somebody's Twitter profile so you can find out what their interests are, because you'll never get that second chance to make a great first impression. And that's a cheesy quote from an old Head and Shoulders commercials from the 80s. But you got to bond before business. You'll never get that chance again. Don't ever go to a meeting and talk business right away. Just be you. You do you. You be you. Okay. All right. Next up, Vin. Hey, Vin. How are you? Vin wrote, Chris, can I have a private talk with you? I'm so sorry. I can only do it here in public. I do one-on-one meetings. You can learn more at that link, whatever. The problem is I have 1.5 million students. I just can't take all of them. I'm so sorry. But you can ask me questions here. Or what you guys can do is do exactly what Alex did. You can ask me a generic question so I can give you advice, or create a new YouTube ID or change your YouTube ID and ask me questions in a generic way, and I'll humbly help you. You wrote here, something about a charity. You want to start a charity oriented hedge fund, and you want to discuss it in detail. Yeah, ask me questions here, please. I've started a hedge fund before. I can tell you about how to set up an onshore and offshore fund. I set my offshore fund up in the British Virgin Islands. It's a lot cheaper than the Cayman Islands. Yeah. But I'm happy to talk to you about that here. Just ask me questions here. And then you wrote here, I watched your TED Talk. It was a TEDx talk, thanks. TED Talk's a bigger deal than TEDx. TEDx, there's lots of different areas in the world where you can talk. So I did a TEDx talk, not a TED Talk. But watch it online if you guys want to watch a replay of that. Yeah. And then you wrote, education is like tea, which I talked about in my TEDx talk. T standing for technology, education, and acceptance. I think every problem in the world can be solved by T. Technology, education, and acceptance. You wrote, it should be a human right. Yeah. But I think your business model can't really help education be everywhere. Okay, that's okay. No problem at all. I respect your opinion. What I do is I use the profits from my MBA program to build schools. And we're just finishing our first school in Rwanda. The next one we're going to start digging next year is in Kenya. So the Rwanda one, if you want to learn more about it, you can go to projectmagoo.org, M-A-G-U, projectmagoo.org, and thank you. Okay. All right. And then Vin wrote here, my professor in Taiwan is a visiting researcher at the University of Adelaide in Australia. We write a reinforced learning quantitative fund and do pair trades. That's why I have over 46% in 2002 return. That's great. That's great. Very cool. Awesome. Awesome. And then you wrote, the third fund is for Elon Musk, not only to hedge his Tesla stock price risk, but also support his nuclear fusion plan and planning sending people to Mars. Yeah. And then you wrote here, I also offer a hedge for Microsoft since Bill Gates' net worth is mostly from them. And he decides to donate all to, yeah. So the best way to think about this, and I do have a prop for everything. Hold on one second. All right, so the best way to hedge yourself there, sorry for the dead time there for a second. The best way to hedge a position is to buy a put. Okay, and I teach this in my MBA degree program. And for those of you that are already registered, it's in FA44, Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4. So what you can do is, let's say you own Coca-Cola stock and you don't want to sell your stock because you don't want to pay taxes or for whatever reason. You can put protection on by buying a put. And basically a put is a small amount of money that you put in to protect if the stock goes down. Okay. Now, the problem with puts, though, and options in general, is the closer you get to expiration date, the more faster it expires, the more it goes down in value, I should say. It's called decay, time decay. So that's the best way to hedge an MSFT position, for example, Microsoft, is to buy a protective put. And I'm sure that Bill Gates has that in place as well. Thank you. Okay. Andre wrote, congratulations on your 200th weekly webcast. Thank you. Appreciate that. Great to see you. And thanks for the support over the years too, Andre. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Caroline, who's from France originally. She lives now in Canada. She has a crepe business she's looking to sell to a private equity firm. She's in my Silver MBA, wrote, congratulations on the 200th webcast, Chris. Lots of valuable knowledge shared with all of us. Thank you. Thank you. It was great seeing you on Zoom a couple of weeks ago with your cats, Mimi and Mumu. And congratulations on your wedding. I think you mentioned that you just went out to Nova Scotia to get married. So congratulations. Next up, we got Matthew McLeod, who's one of my platinum students from Canada as well, from Brantford, Ontario, where Wayne Gretzky was born. He's a great guy. He wrote, congratulations on your 200th weekly live. Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and give me 1 second. So somebody's asking a question, Vin is asking a question about ESG. So for those of you not familiar with ESG, it's a new way to invest. It stands for environmental, social, and governance. And it's a way to invest in companies that do good stuff for the environment, et cetera. Don't make the world a bad place. It's this new trend a lot of younger people are getting into, and I certainly respect that a lot. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next up, I've got Ritesh, who wrote, congrats on 200. I love you. Thank you. I love you more. Thank you. Okay. And then Vin wrote here, me and my professor decided only to take a 1% bonus on these hedge funds and at least a management fee. It's possible to get it close to 0.1 to 0.2%. Yeah. Usually the going rate is 1 in 20 for hedge funds and private equity firms and now venture capital firms, meaning if you raise $1 billion, you get 1% per year, sometimes 2%. Okay, 1% per year to pay fees, that's $10 million. And then you get 20% incentive. So if the hedge fund or venture capital fund or private equity fund doubles in value from $1 billion to $2 billion, then you get a 20%, you get 20% of that. Okay. And for more details on how hedge funds work, go to YouTube and do a search on my name and the TV show Billions. I just did a video called Wall Street Pro, humbly. Wall Street Pro reacts to billions. And I have one coming out next week called Wall Street Pro, humbly again, reacts to the Wolf of Wall Street. And I teach you finance lessons in that as well. Okay. All right. Next up, Caroline wrote, unfortunately, I won't be able to join the silver meeting. I'm at the boat club. That's right. I know you love sailing. Yeah. And for those of you in my silver MBA program, go to the first lecture in the curriculum. And every single Thursday at 10 a.m. my time, meaning in an hour and a half, we do a 1-hour Zoom call. And for those of you in my Gold and Platinum program, we do a 2-hour Zoom call and one-on-ones starting at 11:20 every Thursday. Yeah. All right, next up, Manas wrote, 200th episode of HNN. It's been a long journey, yes, and it's been an honor to be with you, Bob Burgundy. You wrote, thank you. And it's an extraordinary show on earth. Love you, my gratitude, my dear mentor. Thank you, Manas. I appreciate that. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Okay, and I liked your LinkedIn post about the Queen, too. Nice. God bless her. Dawn, thank you very much for that donation of $1.99. That will go directly to projectmagoo.org. That's projectmagu.org, where we build schools overseas. Thank you. And then you wrote here, what's the price, question mark. Let me know what you mean by that. Thank you. If you're referring to the MBA program, you just go to this website here. And thank you. God bless you. Okay. All right, next up, I've got Richard. Richard, first time I've seen you on the call here. Great to see you, and I hope you join us again. Thank you. And then you wrote, good day, all. Congrats on the 200th, Chris. Thank you. I've aged, man. I've aged a lot since the first week. But I'm going to keep doing this. And I'm trying to reverse aging. You can't do it. You can't reverse aging. You can slow it down. One little thing I'm doing now, and this is a little bit out there, but look who you're talking to, is I'm trying to get my teeth whitened. So I'm doing this whitener thing at night. And so my dentist said that a lot of coffee and my kale juice I drink every day, it gets to your teeth after a while. So I'm doing this for a week with a metal straw so I can make my teeth a bit whiter. Okay. All right. All right, next up, and then Manas wrote, good morning, my mentor. How are you doing? I'm always great, thank you. And I hope you're doing well as well. And then you wrote, how long is Russia going to continue? President Putin, who's meeting with China today, President Putin said, this is just the beginning, and they haven't even started yet. What if it never ends? What are your thoughts? Yeah. So I explained to my kids back in February, they said, Dad, when is this war going to end? And I said, honey, it can be, to Andrew, it can be decades. This is Cold War Part 2. Cold War Part 1 started in the late 1940s. This is Cold War Part 2. And so Russia is in secular decline. It's like the 12th biggest economy in the world, keeps getting smaller. And so Putin knows that, they're in trouble longer term. And so what he's doing is he's leveraging his bank vaults underground of oil and natty gas to fund this as well. And unfortunately, he's exporting more of that now to China. I'd love to see, more world powers put pressure on China to stop importing that much oil and gas from Russia. And the Chinese government said yesterday that they did not export anything that is helping Russia to produce arms. Yeah. But it's not going to end for a long time. And Putin, what he did was he did his thesis when he was an undergrad. He did a geology degree, and his thesis was how powerful could the USSR be if they controlled the bulk of the world's natural resources. And there's a famous Saudi Aramco executive, who once said, the Stone Age did not end because they ran out of stones. And so I think longer term Russia is going to become less and less relevant. And Putin kind of knows this too. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And he was completely against perestroika and glasnost. And there wasn't really much of a celebration when Gorbachev passed away a couple weeks ago. A lot of people are passing away. Yeah, I'm a big Gorby fan. Okay. Next up, hey Jasper, how are you? Jasper is from the Netherlands. He graduated from my MBA program last year. Great to see you. He's got a Pokemon trading website, which is doing incredibly well. So Jasper wrote, hey Prof. Chris, what do you think about the current market? Are we in a potential bull trap? The VIX is relatively low, but I still see many global economic risks. Yeah, and we're in a recession. I don't think it's going to be a global depression by any means. The U.S. economy is holding up remarkably well. Now, unemployment is still less than 4%, and inflation's a big deal. And what's kind of scary is that today, for the first time since the financial crisis of 2008, 30-year mortgage rates are above 6%. That's a big deal. They more than doubled in the past year. Yet the economy is not slowing down enough. And I think what the Federal Reserve, what Powell wants to see is unemployment increase. And I know it's a harsh thing to say, and I certainly don't hope that people lose their jobs. But the Federal Reserve wants to see the economy slow down, meaning unemployment increase, so that prices come down as well. And once we see prices starting to come down at the gas pump, et cetera, and when you go to the grocery store and get bread, milk, whatever it is, once you start to notice that, then that could potentially be the bottom of the market. Now, what's happening is the U.S. government is trying to raise rates a lot. And the way they do that is they take money out of the system. Okay, so if you go to a grocery store and one day you notice that avocados are $4 each instead of $1 each, and you go to the store manager, you're like, what's going on? They're like, oh, there's a drought and there are fewer avocados now being imported from Mexico, where we buy them here in California. As a result of fewer avocados, the price of avocados goes up. And using that analogy, think of the Federal Reserve as the manager of the store of money. They take money out of circulation. And basically what that does is less money means the price of money goes up. So how do they do that? What they do is they sell bonds. And I recommend everybody in the United States and globally, if you can, to go and buy what I'm about to show you right now. And I never tell you what to buy except for in this case. Okay, if you're in the United States, I want you to go to Treasury Direct, if I can spell it right. Treasury Direct. Here we go. Yay. Okay, and then you click here on Series I bonds. Okay, so right here, you can buy up to $10,000 per year per person in the United States and get 9.62% guaranteed. Okay, now this rate changes every 6 months. Okay, it changes every November 1st and every April 1st based on what inflation is. So this is basically inflation adjusted. You cannot lose money on this. Even if there's deflation, you can't. Why is this happening? Why can you get this rate? Because the government wants to decrease the amount of money out there. So when you buy this bond here, the government gives you a piece of paper saying, I will give you 9.62% for your $10,000 maximum investment. In return, I take your money. Money's out of circulation. So it's no surprise the stock market is down a lot, because I can either get guaranteed 10% here, or what I can do is I can put money in the stock market, which is not guaranteed. If you told me I can make 10% in the stock market this year with no risk, I'd be like, okay, I'll invest in the stock market. That's not the case. You can invest, if you're based in the US, here in these I savings bonds and get this amount guaranteed. Again, that does reset every 6 months though. Okay, so you're seeing a fund flow that's going from stocks directly into this. Now, the stock market is up on average every single year. On average, the S&P 500, it's up 10.5% historically. Okay, historically. Now, this is a rough year. And if I can make close to that in government bonds, that's what I'm going to do. And what happens is a lot of hedge funds, they lever up, right? So they borrow a lot of money to invest when money is cheap. But they borrow less when rates are higher for obvious reasons. And what you want to do is you want to look at fund inflows into mutual funds. Okay, and you can monitor that data. Just do a search on monthly fund inflows and outflows. And going back to January of this year, we saw massive outflows, and that was a good leading indicator that the market was about to pull back. So once you see fund inflows increase, okay, more than just 1 month, because one data point doesn't make a trend, then that is the time to get bullish. In terms of your comment on the VIX, for those of you not familiar with the VIX, it was created by the CBOE. It's an options instrument, and it basically tells you how volatile options traders expect the S&P 500 to be in the next 30 days or so. And so if you go and you type up VIX and you look at a chart of it, when VIX is high, meaning above 70 or 80, it means there's maximum fear. And no matter what, you want to back up the truck and buy stocks, speculative stocks too. The VIX is relatively low right now. There's not a ton of fear out there yet. That's one of many indicators to analyze. But regardless of what the VIX does or the market does in general, you can always roll up your sleeves and do a lot of due diligence on companies you want to invest in by looking, first of all, at the fundamentals. Second of all, you look at the valuation. And third, you look at the technical analysis. And that's something I teach here in my MBA degree program. And what feeds out of this is an executive summary that's got technicals, valuation, and fundamentals here, which you can print or save as a PDF. Never look at technicals first, please. Always start off by looking at fundamentals and ask yourself, in 5 years, will this company be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? And that will stop you from being seduced by buying cheap stocks that are value traps. They're cheap for a reason. Yeah. Last thing you do is technical analysis. But if you've done the fundamental research based on that spreadsheet I showed you in my MBA program, and you've done the valuation research as well, and you see that the stock is massively oversold, meaning an RSI of 20 or below, I'm happy to explain that if you want me to, then you can start nibbling now. Yeah. Okay. Next up, and one more thing I want to say is U.S. dollar. I get a lot of questions about this. So the U.S. dollar is very, very strong right now. And the very last entity, I'm a global citizen. I'm not too U.S. biased, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. The very last entity to go bankrupt would be the U.S. government. It is what it is, right? The U.S. is a capitalist country. I know the U.S. has a lot of debt, but it's just the way it works. And so when times are bad and people are scared globally, people tend to buy more U.S. dollars. It's not just because the U.S. government is raising interest rates. It's what's referred to by some people as a flight to quality, right? And that's another reason why the United States dollar is strong. Even in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working and the financial crisis started in America, even then the U.S. dollar was very, very strong. Very strong, yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Anirban wrote, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. Likewise, good to see you. I'm a student of your resume and LinkedIn course. Thank you. I hope it's helping you. You wrote, thanks for your course. I found a new confidence myself. F&A, I love it. Frickin' A, that's what it means. Awesome. Great to hear that. And then you wrote, I've been able to work on discovering my goals. Awesome. And by the way, one of my students in my Platinum MBA program that started this past January, he has an undergrad. He's doing my MBA program now. He just got a full-time job offer at Goldman Sachs in New York City in investment banking as an associate. And in his start class are Harvard MBAs, etc. The stuff I teach humbly works, okay, especially the networking stuff. And for those of you that want to take your networking game to the next level, and you can go to my website, harounmba.com, and scroll down and get this free 200 to 300 page book, which has a couple hours of YouTube videos linked in it. Again, it's free. Go to harounmba.com and download it. I promise you this works. This stuff works, yeah. Because your network is your net worth, and relationships are always more important than product knowledge. You've written here, I've also been able to prepare a decent resume and a LinkedIn profile. Awesome. Awesome. And for those of you in the Platinum MBA program, I personally create, me, not my staff, myself, I create your LinkedIn profile for you. Yeah. And your resume. And I teach how to network. Yeah. And then you wrote, I just struggle with low motivation with job search. What can I do to pull myself back together? I've been there, dude. I've been there. So a couple things. The way to find out what your passion and purpose is in life from a career perspective is to ask yourself this question. If you were given a month off, and you can't travel, you can't go to school, and you can't go to work, what will you do with your time? Whatever your answer is, that's your passion and your purpose, and that's the career you should go after, and I don't care what anybody says. You know, if you have parental influences telling you to be a lawyer or an engineer, don't be a lawyer, unless you want to be a civil rights lawyer. Don't do it to please them, because you'll be depressed your whole life. Do what makes you happy, and don't give a damn what anybody thinks. Another way to think about what your passion is, you know, who's your Kanye in business, or your Bono, or your John Lennon, or your Adele, your rock star. Who's a rock star to you? And who do you want to be like? And what you can do is once you figure out who those people are, you can be a voracious reader of their biographies, read articles about them, listen to their autobiography if they have one, listen to books, by the way, by Sir Richard Branson. They're great. And a very easy way to read biographies quickly in any business book is there's an app. And I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm true and pure to you, my students always. There's an app called Blinkist. Blink, I-S-T. And what Blinkist will do is, it's a subscription service. I pay for it. What it will do is it will summarize books in 10 to 15 minutes. It's a great way to work smarter and not harder. Another thing I recommend you all do is when you get ready in the morning, or you're showering and stuff, this is what I do. Alexa, what's the Wall Street Journal news?
From the Wall Street Journal.
Teens use
Alexa,
Instagram
stop.
to explore and connect. That's why we
Alexa, stop, please. What you can do is you can listen to the Wall Street Journal highlights while you're getting ready in the morning. And it's just as good, if not better, than sitting down and reading the Wall Street Journal. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Asil wrote, hi, teacher. Hey, man. You once said the U.S. government is too big to fail. Yes. But after reading Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, be careful with that book, and I'll tell you why in a second. After reading Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, I started to have second thoughts. What is your opinion on the current U.S. economy? Yeah, Ray Dalio is a good stock picker. He's not a great economist. That's right. And so Ray Dalio, he wrote this book called Principles as well that a lot of people are reading. He owns this, the largest hedge fund in the world called Bridgewater, based in Connecticut. The reality is, like, he's had good returns. He has. But what happens at his company is every single meeting is recorded. Every conversation, and I've had friends that have worked there that are very senior. It's stressful, man. 40% turnover, meaning people get fired a lot every year. Every meeting is recorded. Every conversation you have with everybody is recorded, except in the bathrooms. It's true. It's true. So, and there's a famous saying, which I'm going to butcher here, which is, economists have successfully predicted 7 of the past 46 recessions. So I wouldn't take to heart what he says at all. Yeah. Just my opinion. Yeah. But he is he speaks gooder than me. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Manos wrote, how is your Metaverse course going and when is it coming out? Yeah, I'm going to be adding it exclusively to my MBA program only. And if you want to get a taste as to how I'm going to be teaching in the Metaverse, you can always go to this website, mbametaverse.com. Yeah. All right. All right, next up, the Berlin, who's in my Platinum program. He's from San Bernardino, California. Good to see you. You wrote, just stopping by to say hi. Like it is, and thank you for liking this. Everyone like this, please. My marketing people want me to ask that. And you wrote, congratulations on your 200th weekly live. Thank you for everything and for being an amazing person. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. God bless you. Thanks. Okay, moving on to Eric. Eric in my Silver MBA program wrote, woohoo, this is number 200. It's crazy, huh? It's nutty. It's amazing going back to my first webcast. I use a laptop with a 720 camera and things are getting better. And I was nervous, man. My first couple of webcasts, I'd show up and I was like, dude, no one's asking questions. So I had a script of stuff to talk about in case. It's been great. And this would not be possible without the support from all of you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay. And then another Eric Hademan wrote, how do you position yourself if deflation occurs because the Federal Reserve overshoots the Fed funds rate? Yeah. I still think the best thing you can do is buy those bonds I showed you a minute ago by going to Treasury Direct, because even if there's deflation, you still make money off of that. Yeah. And regardless of whether it is inflation or deflation, I still think you can invest in stocks for the long run. You know, if you're not sure where to put your money, just put it into ticker VOO. And I'll show you what this is. So ticker VOO is like the SPY, and I'll explain this. It's it's an ETF offered by Vanguard. Okay, and basically VOO ticker is a representation of all 500 stocks in the S&P 500. This is me buying time while Yahoo Finance loads. Okay, so if I type up VOO here, so VOO, this is the Vanguard 500 index fund, and basically you only pay an expense ratio of 0.03% per year. What does that mean? That means for every $100 that you put into this fund, VOO, you're only paying 3 pennies per year in fees. Don't ever buy mutual funds. They're a scam. Mutual fund fees are anywhere between 3 and 5% and higher, including hidden fees. And you pay more taxes with mutual funds too, because there's short-term gains if portfolio managers that manage the fund buy and sell a lot throughout the year. And so if we go here to holdings, we can see the 12 sectors in the S&P 500 right here, the largest of which is technology. Okay, and it's no surprise the largest positions here at 6%, which is well diversified, are these tech stocks here. So I would put money into the S&P in the long run if you're not sure where to put your money. And yes, it might go down this year, but we can't think short term. We have to think long term, because the average return in the S&P 500, meaning the VU index, ticker VU, the average return historically is 10.5%. Nobody can time markets. But if all you did was in your retirement savings program, let's say you can invest 20 grand a year tax-free. If all you did for the next 20 years was you put 20 grand, and I know times are tough, we can't all do it now, but if you put 20 grand per year in the VU, then that means that in 20 years, that's over $1 million for yourself, okay, tax-free, until you take the money out. If your spouse does it, now you have over $2 million. If you have a child and you save for 18 years in your educational savings account, where you can put 15 or 16K in per year, and you put that money into VU, then at 10.5% return in 18 years, that's $700,000, which more than pays for your kids' college, their house, etc. And when they take money out to pay for college, it's tax-free. It's called an ESA, an educational savings account, and it exists in most countries. Just do a search on what is the ESA or 529 equivalent in your country. Yeah, it works. So if you invested that money for your child, and you maxed out your retirement savings and just put it in the S&P, the VU, if you did it for yourself and your spouse and your child, then in 20 years, you would have $2.7 million. Yeah. And if you have time to look at, to be active and roll up your sleeves and do research on individual stocks, you can make more using my templates. I'll never tell you what to buy, except for the VU and that bond I mentioned before. I'll never tell you what single stocks to buy. I won't teach you how to, I won't give you a fish. I'll teach you how to fish. And yes, I have a prop for that as well. I've got a fishing rod up top. I'm not going to pull it down. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Renwadi says, hi, sir. Chris, please. Hi, how are you? Okay, next up, Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. You look dope in that suit. Change the background for a little change. Thank you. And I put a little bit of green back there as well. I don't know if you can tell. On the bottom there, I've got some green. I've got these lights set up. See, it's green there. A little different. You can't see it, though, with my propaganda little black thing at the bottom here. Let me put that back. Okay. And then you wrote, God bless you and your family forever and ever, and see you in week 201 and forever and ever. Thank you. And thank you for those wonderful emojis too. And God bless you more, brother. Thank you. Okay, Christina, how are you? Christina Hung is based in South San Francisco. She and her husband, Christian, graduated from the Platinum program last year. They have a wonderful daughter who's my niece named Isabella. She's wonderful. Christina is also the president of the Haroun Education Ventures Alumni Association. She's amazing. She's our fearless leader. Thank you. Christina wrote, congratulations on your 200th weekly webcast today. Thank you. And you wrote, what an outstanding achievement. You're simply amazing. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And God bless you. Thank you. And thank you for everything. Thank you again so much for helping with the graduation last year. It was unbelievable. And I hope you enjoy your trip to Greece for the wedding. Yeah. And then you wrote here, thank you so much for these weekly live Q&A webcasts. Thank you for being here. You wrote, I started watching you every Thursday since August of 2020, and I joined your MBA Platinum and now a proud graduate of the class of 2021. Thank you. I appreciate all the support. You were amazing. Thank you. And thank you for your leadership too. Okay, next up, Eric wrote here, if we raise the public consciousness to think about expanding the pie, there will be more successful entrepreneurs and jobs for everyone else. Everyone is living in their own little worlds. Yeah, and the great thing about COVID, or I should say a byproduct, is that we've all proved that we can work remotely. And I think one of the worst investments you can make is buying real estate in big cities. We can all work remotely. You don't have to be in the Bay Area to work at a tech company. You can be anywhere. Okay, next up we got Satons, who's Mark. He's from Detroit, graduated from Platinum last year. He wrote, hello, brother. Great to see you dressed up. And I always call Mark, I call him Google because he knows everything about everything. And I asked him to call me Bing because I don't really know as much as he does. And then he wrote, can you explain minting? Have you heard of MetaMask wallets? I don't know anything about those topics. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I am Bing. Okay. And then Christina wrote, good morning, Chris, at our amazing weekly live webcast and global MBA family. Hope you're having an outstanding week so far. Cheers, Chris. I'm at 9 a.m. water and 400 steps. How about you? Yeah. So for me, I'm at, what am I at here? I'm at 9:15. I got up like 5 or something, so I'm so excited for this webcast. In terms of my steps, I haven't gotten that many in. Screw you, Apple, and this new iOS upgrade. Sorry. Don't do iOS 16 yet. Just wait until the bugs are worked out. I'm at 720 steps so far. Yeah, I'll get to my 20,000. Yeah. Okay. Okay, next up, Kurt. It's been a while, man. I hope you're doing well. You wrote, greetings all. Happy 200 episode, Chris and everyone. Great to see you. And then Kurt wrote, cool background, by the way. And we need more cowbell. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you. Okay, moving on to, and give me 1 second. It jumps on me sometimes, so I gotta just do a quick little search on the word Kurt. Name Kurt. Okay. 52 people live. I guarantee it's gonna go down by a couple in a second here. Yeah, the good thing about this is you get real-time feedback. Oh, here we go, I found it. Okay, good, we're good to go. All right, next up, Sachin wrote, hi, Chris. Hey, when do you see the Fed turning dovish? Yeah, and the bull market returning? Surely they will need to pivot eventually. Yeah. So the Federal Reserve is either hawkish or dovish. Hawkish, like a hawk is meaning that they're raising rates. Dovish, doves are nice, peaceful, means they're cutting rates. So in terms of when the Federal Reserve will be dovish and start to cut rates or no longer raise rates, it all has to do with inflation, right? So what you got to do is you just got to analyze and watch to see when prices start to stabilize or come down. And you'll all see it at the gas pump. One data point doesn't make a trend though. So in addition to the gas pump, the food products you buy weekly, bread, milk, whatever it is. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to happen for a while because the government or the Fed keeps raising rates and we still have horrific inflation, right? Which is a testament to how strong the economy is. Unemployment is still less than 4%. Back in the early 1980s, when inflation was awful and interest rates were 20%, it was bad then, man. We had unemployment of 10%. So the Fed is going to watch unemployment tick up. And so it's unfortunate, but I think that eventually you'll see a report every second or third Thursday when the government releases unemployment numbers. And when you see unemployment tick up, the market will rally. Yeah. But you gotta look at unemployment, like weekly claims. And you also have to look at inflation closely. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Eric wrote, in The Wolf of Wall Street, that was a bad risk losing the yacht while chasing $20 million. Yeah. And I have a Wolf of Wall Street vlog coming out very, very soon. And that was a scene where Leo was bribing Kyle Chandler in the movie, a government official, or sort of bribing him. Yeah. And that was filmed right outside of Merrill Lynch's headquarters, or now B of A in New York City. Yeah. Great movie. I love it. Okay. Next up, I've got Rose. How are you? Rose from the great state of Virginia. You were in my very first class. Thank you for that support. God bless all my students. And the first year students, God bless you guys too, man. It was tough for all of us. It was COVID, and I didn't have any lessons prepared, and you guys supported me on day one, not one day. And thank you for that. Appreciate it. So you wrote, I remember you saying on your first webcast that nobody came, so you just talked to yourself. Look how far you've come. Yeah, it's crazy. I still talk to myself. Yeah. Okay, and Michelle, how are you? Michelle is joining my Platinum program that starts September 30th. She is based in Texas. She has wonderful pictures from her grandchildren on her wall behind her always. Michelle wrote, and thank you for the trophy as well. You joined my channel. I appreciate that, the support. You wrote, good morning, Chris. Happy 200. Thank you. You wrote, starting to see some worry that the Fed is tightening too much and heading us into deflation and depression due to a lag and prices already falling. Thoughts? Yeah, I haven't really seen prices falling much. Maybe I don't see the same data as you. I'm not too worried about a depression. I think the media is probably a little bit too negative. I think what's going to happen is after the government raises rates a bunch, if the economy slows a lot and unemployment spikes, I think they'll start stopping raising rates and cutting. Yeah. Nobody knows when, if it's going to be 6 months, a year. I don't know yet. Yeah. But it's a smart thing to do to raise rates now, because if you don't raise rates right now, then what happens is when times are bad, you can't flood the market with money. Right? And so basically what the Federal Reserve does, this is fake money, is when times are tough, if rates are higher, they can jumpstart the economy by cutting rates. You know, one problem over the past decade with previous administrations, Democrat and Republican, is they didn't raise rates enough when times were good. Yeah. Okay. And we would have had a soft landing, I really do believe, if it weren't for what Putin, that jerk, did. Yeah. But things were looking amazing in January. We were going to go into a soft landing, and then just this black swan event of Putin invading Ukraine really hurt us. And I think in hindsight's 2020, the United States government probably wishes they didn't pull out of Afghanistan, because that kind of kept Russia in check for decades. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Vin wrote, Chris, can you write a recommendation letter to James Grand, the Securities Law Group, maybe your old friend? Yeah. So James Grand, so he's the lawyer from the Securities Law Group that I hired years ago to set up my onshore and offshore fund, my master feeder for my hedge fund. Just send him a message directly. You can just do a search on Securities Law Group, James Grand with an E on the end. Grand, yeah. Okay. And Mark wrote, congratulations, brother, on the 200th live Q&A. You rock. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. It's surreal, eh? Surreal. I can't believe it's 200. My God. Okay. All right. Next up, I have got here. Eric wrote, there's a lot of communists went underground after the Cold War with the idea of later resurrecting the Soviet Union. That was around McCarthyism, yeah. And then he wrote, many of the same people are still running Russia today. They also transformed America. Yeah. I think what's worried me about COVID, I've been saying this for a couple of years now, is it's the first time in my life the whole world's been moving more left-wing, which is kind of scary. Very scary, actually. And so when I was a baby, Richard Nixon went to, in 1972, remember Richard Nixon? I'm not a criminal, that guy. He went to China to open up the market, and the whole world, including China, was moving a little bit more to the right, meaning more freedom. And then what happened with COVID is the whole world started moving this way. U.S. less so, though. And even in, I have students from all over the world, 195 countries, and I do a ton of one-on-ones in my Platinum MBA program. And I had a lot of students from a lot of countries, I'll never name which students, that would say to me, sir, and I'd say, call me Chris. They would say, sir, it's awful. I go out at night past curfew and they have sticks and they beat us, the government, right? And I'm not a crazy conspiracist nut, but even in Canada, you saw it, my beloved Canada, you had all these truckers wonderfully, I love them so much, protesting in Ottawa. I love that. Stand up for freedom, always. My favorite license plate is from the great state of New Hampshire, which says, live free or die. And I even had family members in Canada that wanted to go to their cottage, during COVID, and the police would stop them and fine them $150 per person in the car. Yeah. Now, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I am going to get my next booster very soon. But we all have to stand up and say enough is enough. Whoever your MP is or your local government official or congressperson, if you're losing any freedoms, you got to contact them and band together. Yeah. And I love freedom of speech. Yeah. Live free or die. That's right. Okay. And Eric wrote, America has been subverted by cultural Marxism. Yeah, I'm not that negative, although I do respect your opinion on that. I do think that America has become bifurcated, partially due to social media. America is more at odds with each other at any point in time since maybe the hippie generation in the 1960s, where people said don't talk to anybody over 30 or don't trust anybody over 30. Social media is making people more of a Republican and more of a Democrat. And it's Facebook's fault. So Facebook, what they do with their ads is if you're a Democrat, they'll serve you more Democrat ads, makes you more of a Democrat. And the same thing with Republicans. And if you turn on, Fox News, which is Republican, and CNN, which is Democrat, the reaction to the same news is completely opposite. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So I think the media has done a poor job of forcing us to be basically bifurcated as society. And one of the reasons the media is doing this is because the younger generation, they're not watching Fox News or CNN. They're watching YouTube. And so the media is terrified they're going to lose all of these viewers. And so as a result, what the media is doing on the left and the right is they've got kind of breaking news all the time, shocking news. Find out why the world is going to end after this commercial break. Yeah. And that's why I always recommend, especially from an investing perspective, don't ever take anybody's advice. Don't watch television like CNBC and listen to Jim Cramer and these people and tell you what to buy. Do your own research. And I humbly provide you with all the tools you need in order to make wise investment decisions. Nobody is smarter than you. And I believe that with all my heart. That's the reason that I licensed that video of the Steve Jobs interview from the Silicon Valley Historical Association, which I end every one of my webcasts with. Yeah. Okay. 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 And Vin has asked me to call him Kelsier. We'll do. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Digital Edwin wrote, "Hi, Professor. How are you doing? I'm always great. Thank you. I hope you're doing well." You wrote, "Sorry, I was a bit late." Oh, please, this is all optional. "Sorry, I was a bit late, but kudos for the amazing job that you're doing. Thank you. I appreciate that. What's your advice for me? I'm creating a Kenyan B2B and B2C e-commerce store as a one-man army." Yeah. So what I have to say to everybody on this call, and I try to make my answers generic enough to apply to everybody, is that don't ever start a company unless you write a full business plan. There's that cliche, which is failing to plan is planning to fail. And in my MBA program, I've got a venture capital bootcamp where I help you start a company with no money down. That's right. And because we raise money from high net worth investors, I teach how to network to raise money, and it works. I have a student of mine that graduated from my platinum program last year, Jim Tassouf, who raised $11.5 million from venture capital firms for his startup, including from Tim Draper, who is the venture capitalist that invested in Baidu, SpaceX, Twitter, etc. But I want you to write a full business plan first. And I'll show you what the template looks like in my MBA program. For those of you in my MBA program, we cover this in the third semester. So let me go over here. And I'll go here to my VC Bootcamp. Yeah, here it is here. Yeah. And so basically, I walk you through how to start a company, how to sell yourself, the executive summary, the management team, your go-to-market strategy, all that stuff, financials, of course, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the output of this is your final business plan, as well as presentation slides and much, much more using Shark Virtual Reality, which is my company. You can go to sharkvirtualreality.com. It's actually a website that exists. Yeah. But I want you to always write a full business plan before starting a company, because when you start a company, it's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make in your life. And if it's not done right, it can destroy your health, your wealth, everything about your life. And so the way you know you have a good business model is if you finish the business plan. And so the tools I provide you with in my MBA program, you can learn more at the link below. I basically help you write a 150-page business plan. Okay. And if you don't write the business plan first, then your chance of success goes down a lot. You don't have to use mine only. You can use anybody's business plan software out there, please. But the way you know you have a great business plan and the probability of success is higher is if you finish that business plan. Quite often you start writing a business plan and a couple hours into it, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize the competition was this fierce, or I didn't realize my profit margins would suck. And a lot of people, when they start companies, they just think about the qualitative stuff. They don't create a financial model. But without data, it's an opinion and nothing more. You need a full thesis by writing the full business plan, which I help you with in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then CSS wrote, "Congratulations, Senor Chris. Sorry I've been absent." Oh, all good, please. I'll try to get back on track. See you soon in class. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Javier, right? I think so. I think you were in Mexico seeing your family. Yeah. Yeah. It's great to see you. And I think I met you in person at our in-person graduation last year as well. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Satons. Mark wrote, did you hear about that Ethereum merger? I did. So what's happening with Ethereum is moving from proof of work to proof of stake. And basically what that means is instead of mining, you have to pay to mine, sort of. But more importantly, the way that the mining process works is it's much better for the environment. Yeah. And I'm bullish on Ethereum longer term. I own it. I love it because it's a platform. And about 70% of all ICOs and NFTs are minted and created and birthed on the Ethereum platform. The only problem I have with Ethereum is that there's no limit in terms of the number of Ether, ETH, which is the coin on Ethereum, a platform that can be created. Yeah. But I own it. I've owned it for years. Yeah. And obviously I'm not mining anymore. Yeah. Okay. Eric is saying Coinbase won't allow me to access my Ethereum. I wonder why. Yeah. So Coinbase and a lot of exchanges are freezing Ethereum access while it transitions. It won't be forever. Yeah. So for me, I can't. I have also a lot of Ethereum in my Coinbase accounts. More of it though in my hot wallet account, or my cold storage wallet. But I have a bunch of Ethereum in my hot wallet on Ethereum, and I'm waiting. Yeah. Okay. Which is the right thing to do. They want to create adverse volatility, I think, in my humble opinion. Yeah. Okay. And of course, regulators are watching very closely. Okay. And Moodanet wrote, I just bought your Udemy MBA course. Thank you. I put out a sales email on it yesterday to my Udemy students. That's a 7.5 hour program. This one here is 300 hours. Yeah. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you. We sold over 500,000 on Udemy and other platforms over the past couple of years. Yeah. It's been amazing. And I never did it for the money. I did it because I just want to help. Yeah. And actually that whole course, the entire MBA in one course, it started from me doing charity work. So I was working in venture capital, and an entire MBA in one course. What I did was I was on the board of the Limo Foundation. And I created a one-day program for them. Let's go to a Boot charity here. A one-day program for these students. And here it is here at the Limo Foundation. Yeah. And then I would teach on the weekends for free. Yeah, and here they are. Let me go back here. Hold on a second. Yeah, this will sort of show you. It cuts off a bit. But here they are here. So it was in January of, I think it was 2016. I created this one-day event where I would teach these kids in East Palo Alto, and I called it an entire MBA in one day. And then there were tears from myself, from everybody. They're amazing students. They're between 9 and 17 years old. They're in East Palo Alto, where the high school graduation rate is only 40%. Most of these kids have deadbeat fathers. There's no such thing as a deadbeat mother. And so I created this for them. And then and I even created a little certificate for them, which is kind of like the genesis, so to speak, of my MBA program. And then I put a camera up at home the next day, and I filmed it, just put it online, called it entire MBA in one course, and it's humbly done okay. But it was never about the money, because I think that if you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail a bunch of times and not give a damn what anybody thinks of you, then good things happen. And I remember in 2016, the summer when I quit venture capital to do this full time, people thought I was crazy. And I would get calls from VCs and hedge funds saying, hey, you want to come back? Are you done with this teaching thing? I was like, no, I'm just getting started, dude. And so if they think you're crazy, it means you're early and you're right. Right? So at first they think you're crazy. Then they think you're crazy genius. And then they just think genius. They still think I'm crazy. Like if you do a search for Albert Einstein, one of the first images you'll find is this old man with long hair sticking his tongue out from like the 1950s or something. You don't think crazy, you think genius. I'm still in the crazy zone though. Yeah. Okay. Next up I've got here Lala. I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Great to see you again. It's my cousin Sarah. Her name is Sarah. I called her Lala because Sarah was hard for me to say when I was a kid. So Lala wrote, hi, Chris and friends. How do we enter to win the gold track of the MBA? So what I'm going to do at 9:45, I've got an alarm on ALEXA. I'm going to ask a question based on what I've talked about so far today. Okay, answering questions. And whoever answers that question correctly and enters in the response here wins my gold MBA. But if you've already signed up for the gold MBA, don't enter in the answer. Yeah. Or if you do, give it to somebody else. Yeah. Thank you, Lala. All right. Next up, I have got... okay. Next up, Aswin wrote, hello, sir, Chris, please. What financial advice will you suggest to a new and upcoming freelancer like me? Yeah, use Upwork. I use Upwork all the time. I hired this amazing developer to make my brand new website, which I just released, which is awesome on mobile. His name is Vlad. He's based in Ukraine. If you want me to introduce you to Vlad, he's done great work, and you'll be supporting Ukraine as well. You can email support@harounventures.com, and I'll send you his details, Vlad. But as a freelancer, you definitely want to use Upwork. You can use Fiverr as well. You won't make as much money there. But that's what I'd recommend. Yeah. Okay. And also, I want you to vlog a lot. Like, I want you all to be thought leaders. And I want you to write a book, everybody here. And, you know, if I told you that if you went to an interview and you gave somebody your book that you wrote, that you would get that job or that customer, would you write that book? Of course you would. So here's how you do it. It's all free. So what you do is, and all my books I've written in 6-inch by 9-inch format, okay? And to get this template, it's free to write a book, okay? So what you do is you go to the following web address to download my template for free. harounmba.com/ all lowercase, write book. See there? Write book. And you click here to download the templates, okay? And it opens up here in Dropbox. Make sure to click here and go download, okay? But what happens is there's one page of instructions, and it's free. It's free to write a book. And on this one page of instructions, which is just the first page here, it gives you the 3 links to go to publish your book. This is Amazon print, Amazon digital, Kindle, of course, Kindle Direct Publishing, Amazon print, and then ACX, which is Audible. It's free. And this entire template, all you do is you fill it in. You put in your dedication, like this, to my mom and dad who gave me the faith and confidence to know in my heart that you can accomplish anything in life. I love you, mom and dad, if you're watching. Yeah, that sort of thing. And then once you put all the contents in this book here, right, all the stuff here, then you right-click here and you select repaginate in Microsoft Word. And then you're done. Your book is done. And if you think that's overwhelming, I've got a great tip for you. All right. So what you can do is what I did. Which is my first book I published, self-published. And Obama's publisher reached out to me and they wanted to buy the rights. I was like, screw that, because they want to jack the price up to $25 and I get $1 from each book and they don't own the content. Screw that. Yeah. Okay. So what I did though with this book was I wrote one article every single week in LinkedIn for 2 years. Okay. That's about 104 articles. And whatever articles got the most likes, whatever, I put at the beginning of this book. And so all 104 of those went directly into here. So it's not that overwhelming if you just release one article per week on LinkedIn at the exact same time and the exact same day in the week, so that your subscribers look for consistency. They know when it's coming. And again, whatever one's got the most likes, you put it at the beginning of your book as well. Yeah. And I want you all to be thought leaders as well. Right? So it's like the Rodin sculpture. I think, therefore I am. I want you to be a thought leader. How do you become a thought leader? You think like one. You start writing. Eventually you become, the media comes to you for interviews, etc., which humbly happened to me. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. So when you do the social media stuff, don't give up after 5 or 6 videos, or I'm overdoing with the 200th weekly here, I know. At least I'm persistent, right? Like a pit bull and a pork chop. Don't give up, because your competition will give up after 5 or 6 tries. And don't be afraid to scream into the wind and not get any views or any likes. You got to tell yourself, I don't care. If you look at Gary Vaynerchuk's early stuff, his early videos, nobody was watching them. He did interviews where like 2 people would listen to the podcast. Be long-term focused. Be like the Rodin sculpture. I think, therefore I am. And opine a lot. Give your opinion. And you can even repurpose it on multiple different channels as well. So, for example, I made a course. Actually, it was a webcast I did a year ago on how to sell. And I chopped it up. I made a course out of it. And I closed captioned it. And I exported all the closed captions into a book. So you can repurpose all this stuff as well. And I use rev.com for my captions. They're expensive, but they're good. And I got a book here, actually. This is funny. This is from Jimmy Carter. And I met him. He signed it as well when I was at Columbia 8 million years ago. I lined up and got him to autograph this book. He's a good man. Yeah. And when I was lining up to get his autograph in the book, there was this gentleman from Pakistan, from this remote village in Pakistan ahead of me, lining up. And God bless anybody that has loved ones in Pakistan. I know it's rough there now. And this guy from Pakistan ahead of me, lining up, he said, Mr. Carter, there's a lot of turmoil in my home village. Can you please help? And the Secret Service got in the way, talking to their arms and stuff, and tried to get him out of the way. And Jimmy Carter said, no, stop. And he shut down everything, and he talked to this guy for ages. It was so awesome. So awesome. Yeah. He's a good man. Okay. All right. All right, next up, Eric wrote, if every conversation is recorded, meaning at Ray Dalio's company, Bridgewater, yep, except in the bathrooms. If every conversation is recorded, learn how to salt the data. James Corbett on the Corbett Report had a good video about privacy and salting data. Yeah, and it's rough, man. It's like I remember when I was younger and I worked in corporate America, if I wanted something to be confidential, I'd leave a voicemail, mark it private, or I wouldn't put it in writing. Now everything is recorded. It's scary. Yeah. All right, next up, Kurt wrote here, what risks would you consider before purchasing real estate outside of the United States? Like government stability, 100% deed ownership, other. Yeah, the number one is always policy risk. And number two is FX, okay, and taxes, etc. So for me, I own real estate, a lot actually up in Canada. I'm not too worried about policy risk there. Because I don't think Canada's going to get too left-wing because U.S. will always influence them to be more centrist. Taxes are a bit of a concern there for me as well. And I had to make sure that you talk to a local lawyer to set up a tax shelter-based entity there if you can do it, okay? Get a lawyer. Get a lawyer to help you out with it as well. And talk to your accountant as well here in America or whatever country people are based in and ask them what are the ramifications if I invest in real estate outside of my country. And never do your own taxes. I don't want anybody to ever do your own taxes, please. I don't care what country you're in. The reason I say you hire somebody to do your taxes is because you can get a lot of tax breaks, and they can also keep you from getting in trouble if they're good. Now, doing your own taxes is like doing surgery on yourself. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but it's true. The reason the accounting designation exists is because new government administrations have new tax codes, and tax codes change all the time. And don't use software from companies like Intuit, QuickTax, whatever it is, to do your taxes. Hire somebody to do it. And it's a fragmented industry, and there's no Yelp for accountants. So how do you find an accountant? Well, you ask your rich aunt or uncle or friends or successful people to introduce you to their accountants. Don't do it a couple months before tax season, okay? Do it 6 months before tax season. And your friends or successful people that introduce you to their accountant, they're happy to do it because they're getting their accountant more business, which means their accountant will do a better job for them as well. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Andre wrote, Padre Andre, right? And I think you're in my platinum program from Brazil, although you used to live in New York City. Yeah. So Padre Andre wrote, congrats on the 200th. God bless. Oh, it is you for sure. God bless you more, brother. I missed you. I'm looking forward to our next one-on-one. Yeah. And Padre Andre, what he does when he conducts mass, he's differentiated. He's very charismatic, and he makes it interesting. He uses PowerPoint as well, which is cool. Yeah, yeah. And there are fewer priests now in America than there were in the 1950s. Yeah. I go to church. I speak in my church too. I do the first reading and second reading. And that's how one of the ways I conquered my fear of public speaking. Get involved with your religious institution. Get up there and just read from the text in front of 1,000 people, whatever it is. And don't worry about anything career-wise, people, in life, because God already knows what's going to happen. And every career setback you've had, I lost a couple people there, I don't care, this is me. Every career setback you have, I want you to look at it differently. I want you to think of this is kind of a gift. And you might not understand it now, But if you look at it the right way, then years from now, you might look back and say, thank God that happened to me. That setback, that frustration from that corporate bully that was managing me, kind of influenced me to start my own company. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Eric wrote, is a 10.5% mutual fund return over 20 years realistic? For the S&P 500, that is the average. Yeah. Don't buy a mutual fund. Buy the ETFs. Mutual funds have tons of fees. And even if they advertise it's only a 1% fee, that's bogus. It's bogus because the way it works at a mutual fund is portfolio managers that manage the money. They get paid every year based on how much they outperform an index buy. For many of them, it's the S&P 500, and most of them can't outperform that. And what happens is towards the end of the year, if they're underperforming, they chase performance. They buy and sell a lot to try to chase performance. And even if they outperform the index by a little bit, it's still a worse investment. Why? Because when you chase performance and you profit from something in less than 1 year, you pay higher capital gains taxes. See, most governments globally will reward you for being long-term focused. Like if you own something for more than a year and then you sell it, you pay less in taxes. Yeah. Okay, and the 10.5% return for the S&P 500, that's average. Okay, there's some years the S&P will be down a lot, some years will be up more than that, etc. But just think long-term. Otherwise, you get fooled by randomness. And as Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Yeah. Okay. And then Kurt wrote, the United States taxes citizens globally. And a lot of people told me not to get my green card because of that. Yeah, I'm like, screw it. The U.S. taxes citizens globally. Many other countries don't. What benefits do U.S. citizens get that they can't get elsewhere besides a strong passport? Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want to start a company in the United States, it's easier to do if you have a green card or a U.S. passport. Yeah. Yeah, the U.S. is a great country to start a company in, but it is true taxes can be higher. Yeah, in certain situations. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Pontification wrote, "Congrats on the 200. Thank you, I appreciate it." Next up, Caroline wrote, "Nobody talks gooder than you, Chris. Maybe Barack Obama." No, thank you. And I remember years ago when I was raising money for my hedge fund years ago. On my road show, I had my hair short, and people said that they reminded me of Obama. I think because I used to pause, I used to go, moving on to, in terms of, yeah. Oh, he's a great speaker. And I listened to his entire audiobook, which I recommend everybody do. I didn't vote for him, but I love the man. I recommend you guys listen to his audiobook because he narrates it himself. It's 30 hours. And you can pick up on how to speak gooder and stuff, too. And he's very self-deprecating, Obama, too. And I gained a lot more respect for him when I listened to it. And so Obama, in his book, he said that, when he was like 39 years old, his marriage was on the rocks and he was a failed politician. And so he basically started over at 40. It's an incredible story. Just the endurance. The same thing with, I think it was Abraham Lincoln. He went through 26 elections and didn't get elected, and finally got elected. He didn't give up. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. He's lost so many elections over the years. Yeah, I wouldn't vote for him, but I respect him, especially because of civil rights images that came out recently of him getting arrested for protesting civil rights. Do a search on it. You won't recognize him. Yeah, because he didn't look like Larry David back then. Yeah. And the only reason I want Bernie to be president is because Larry David would be on Saturday Night Live a lot. Yeah. And in terms of, do I vote Republican or do I vote Democrat? It all depends on who the candidate is. When you guys do your see how I'm shiny here? When you guys do your Zoom meetings, make sure that you have this stuff as well. Because a good Zoom presence, to quote one of my platinum students, Evelyn, does more for your career than a great Italian suit does. Yeah. I don't even know if this is Italian. I bought this from this guy named Sam Malouf. Nice Lebanese dude. Here in the Bay Area. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Lala wrote, congrats on 200, Chris. Yes, I added an additional extra 0 because it will be. Congrats. Oh, you wrote 2000. Sorry, I misread that too. Congrats to you, friend. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I will do a 2000s episode one day. Yeah. Okay. And Mohammed wrote, congratulations on number 200 webcast. God bless you. God bless you more, brother. And thank you. Okay. Kelsier wrote, can somebody or Chris type the school funded by Chris's MBA thing? So yeah, I'll show you guys here. Okay. All right. So it was one of my students, project, here we go here. Yeah. One of my students in my platinum program, I met him in Berlin. I went to a Udemy conference years ago and I met him. And so we built a school. Yeah, we built one in Rwanda. And then we're doing one in Kenya next with another one of my students in my platinum program, Marin, and then eventually Nigeria from Kemi Tade, my platinum student from last year, the year before. She just had her second child. She lives in Ottawa now. She's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. But here's, and I brought my son Andrew as well. And the kids here, they were crying, laughing because he was using, this is last summer during COVID in Rwanda. He was using Snapchat, and the kids were laughing so hard. It was awesome. There's Vital as well. Yeah, it was fun, man. Yeah, yeah. So that school is basically done. I just paid for the roof. I think what we need now is solar, which we'll put on next, and all the computers that are being made there in Magoo, Rwanda, are locally sourced, and we're using Raspberry Pi because it's cheaper and also it's locally sourced. Yeah. Okay. And we want to use Starlink eventually. We can't do it yet. Elon Musk's amazing democratization of information weapon, which I love. Eventually we'll do it, but for now we're using just mobile. Yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second. And very soon I'm going to ask that question, see who's going to win the gold MBA. Okay. Okay, next up, Lala wrote, Chris, do you think these numbers, jobs numbers, meaning when unemployment's under 4%, and other economic data are manipulated? I don't think so. I think the jobs data is not. I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, there's too many checks and balances in place in terms of corporate America. Like when companies report their earnings, they're seeing a slowdown as well. And yeah. And they're all seeing a tight labor market as well. And what's happening here in California is, what worries me about California, where I live, the left coast, and I do love it here, is that a lot of people that are centrists, and it's good to have differing opinions, right? It kind of keeps the government in check. A lot of people that are more centrist or a little bit less left-leaning, they're moving to Texas. And there are things happening here that are moving a little bit too left wing, and so I am considering leaving at some point. I don't know yet. I'm thinking about it. So, for example, minimum wage. It's not an issue for me, but I have a lot of friends in the restaurant industry. Minimum wage is being increased from $14 to $22. It's 50% rise right away. It's okay to do it gradually, but that quick, it's tough. And what's going to happen is, I know the government here wants to help, but at the same time, it's not going to help. It's going to hurt because automation is going to replace a lot of employees. And so what's happening is before COVID, 18% of all grocery store sales before COVID were done with self-checkout. It's now 30%. And it's going to increase even more. And so I think that government here's got to be a little bit more careful, not to lean too far to the left. Don't ever say that stuff in an interview, though, please. Yeah, I'm just being honest. Okay. Next up, Marvin wrote, will you react to some other episodes and sessions of Billions in the future? Absolutely. So that vlog I did on Billions, I recommend you guys check it out. It was a lot of fun. And Matt, my chief creative officer, did a great job with it. It did incredibly well. And I decided I'm not doing any more vlogs. Except for the ones that are like 20 minutes long where I put a lot of work into it. And the reason is because I've already answered every question, right? And so every week what I would do is during my Q&A, I would have my staff create 7 vlogs based on the best 7 questions. And it was getting repetitive. So what I'm doing is there's this guy named Mr. Beast. Many of you know. He has like 100 million subscribers. And he wrote this book with this guy named Daryl Eves, which is a YouTube bestseller. And it's how to create a good YouTube channel. And so I called Daryl and I hired him. Well, I'm part of a bunch of students in his program. And he coached me through that first video. And so the Billions one is the first of many. I'm going to be doing a minimum of 20 and maybe way more than that of reaction videos to movies. I've already recorded the Wolf of Wall Street, the movie Wall Street one as well. We're editing right now. And I might do more Billions episodes as well. Yeah. And if you guys have any recommendations on what to do, let me know here. I'll do the television show Silicon Valley as well, which is very realistic, actually, although there's some quirky personalities in it. Yeah. And I want to teach based on movies now. It's fun, too. I'm trying to push the goalpost which is why I'm also doing stuff like this, which will be embedded in my MBA program in the long run. All right, next up, Ta wrote, hey, Prof. Chris, hey, congrats on the 200th episode. Thank you. And then you wrote, many more episodes to come. Thank you. Really learned a lot and building my business acumen from you and reading the business financial statements like a good book. Awesome. I love that. Thank you. Okay. And then Vince Plummer wrote, good morning, Chris. Congratulations on number 200. Thank you. Moving on to Aswin, who wrote, by the way, congratulations on 200 Webcast, sir. Thank you. I'm your new and recent student of the Complete Finance course. Completed 5%, and I already love it. And I'm excited about your AMAs. Ask me anything. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Cool. In the trailer for that course you bought, I recorded it in the Czech Republic. I recorded most of my 8 or 9 trailers there. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Big shout out to Adad Warda, who put that together for me. He's great. Okay, next up we got Marvin, who wrote, hi, Chris. I'm from Germany. How are you? Nice to meet you. And I've got a little piece of Germany with me here as well. I got this from Checkpoint Charlie. This is the part of the wall. It wasn't this beautiful. They painted it afterwards, of course, yeah. Sierra, I'm from Germany, so I'm curious about your opinion on the upcoming IPO of Porsche. Yeah, Volkswagen is kind of spinning it off, yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a hell of a lot of sense for Volkswagen to be able to unlock shareholder value as well. Yeah. I almost bought a Porsche a couple of times. It's just too small, cramped in there. I like something more relaxed and chill, yeah. Okay. Next up, Eric wrote, the first day in the office, Joe Biden cut off the Keystone Pipeline, which is asinine, you wrote here. That means, yeah, less gas and fertilizer, which is made from natty gas. Massive food and fuel shortages are coming. Yeah. And I don't, obviously then, just to be objective, Biden did not know about this whole Russia thing. Yeah. And then Nintendo, who now has a blue trophy. Congratulations, because you're on month 2 of my subscription service. Thank you. You wrote, hope you're well. And you could buy my MBA program and courses as well through YouTube. If you guys just go to the join page, I have a subscription business model as well. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. And then Eric said, Twitter released a report which stated the United States is the most polarized country in the world. It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, especially now. Yeah, you got extreme left wing, extreme right wing. Yeah. And I love Twitter. I think it's a massively undervalued asset. I think Elon Musk should go through with the acquisition. I know that shareholders voted that he has to, sort of, because I do believe that Twitter's market cap one day will be over $1 trillion. That's a 20-bagger, folks. It's the most important media asset on the planet. It's been really mismanaged. Yeah, it's a little bit too far leaning this way as well. It should be a little bit more objective. Yeah. And the founder of Twitter even said he wished he'd kind of open sourced it because it leans one way a little bit too much. Yeah. And Eric wrote, how can we become more chill in the U.S.? I would say just less reliance on the media. Because the media is, as I mentioned earlier, it's really polarized America. And when I say media, I'm not just talking about CNN and Fox. I'm talking about Facebook, social media. Yeah. And that's why I love the younger generation, right? Like my kids, they didn't grow up, watching CNN like I did. They didn't grow up watching 60 Minutes like I did. If when I was around my parents growing up in Canada on the couch, they're watching TV and I'm kind of there as well, right? But my kids, whenever on the couch I'm watching TV, the news, or whatever it is, they're on these things. They're on these things. This is the new OS, iOS. And the cool thing about iOS 16 is you can now get these little graphics here as well. But they're watching YouTube. And I love YouTube. I love these YouTube people that aren't political. They're just kind of vloggers having fun. Because my kids, when they watch it, they're getting a mini MBA or digital marketing MBA watching it. Okay, next up, Sarthik wrote, hey, Chris, what are your thoughts on the Ethereum merge? I think it's a great thing because it's going to make mining Ether more environmentally friendly. Yeah. And one of the reasons that Elon Musk does not accept Bitcoin anymore when you buy a Tesla is because Bitcoin, a lot of Bitcoin mining is still done in mainland China. It is. Over 80% of all Bitcoin mining is done there from a pooling perspective. And a lot of that is powered by filthy coal mines. China still has over 4,000 coal mines. Yeah. Okay. Sarthik wrote, how do you start a blockchain development? Yeah. I'm not an expert in coding a blockchain from scratch. There's this guy named Kirill that has a great course on Udemy on that. I'd check out his stuff. He's smart. Okay. And then Satans wrote, I was talking about minting NFTs. Yeah. So a lot of NFTs are minted on the Ethereum platform. It's something I'm working on right now, adding to my MBA curriculum so that you'll all know how to make NFTs as well. It's coming. Yeah. And I'm working with this brilliant dude who helped me with my crypto course named Trevor Cochran on it as well. Good guy. Okay. Eric wrote, the day will come soon when the Federal Reserve notes are more worthless than leaves blowing in the wind. Fiat currencies always collapse, but gold has stood the test of time. Yeah. What's this? It's a dollar bill. What year is it from? $1933. It looks the same, right? This is 1933. It looks the same. Monopolies don't have to innovate. And the US government has not innovated with this stuff at all. I know that there's a white paper going around that MIT created so the US government can look into making a cryptocurrency version of the dollar. I think it's just exploratory for now. I don't think they need to innovate. Right? I think they should, but they probably feel like they don't have to. But cash is trash. It's probably the worst investment you can make. Just letting your money sit in cash. Yeah. And your gold has always stood the test of time. And that dollar I just showed you, that was based on gold. And then in 1972, Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So now the dollar is based on the full faith and credit of the United States government. Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can get some more likes. This is my 200th episode. Please click the like button. If you want. Okay, and Sarthik wrote, congratulations for 200 amazing webcasts. I learned a lot. Then you wrote, you are my mentor, and I pray for you every day. I pray for you more. Thank you. And every day I get out of bed and I thank God for these 10 things in this order. Okay, I always say it this way. Thanks God for Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, my wife, Christine, my mom, my dad, my brother, Jamie, my sister, Katie, and Elizabeth, and you, my students. Thank you. And by practicing gratitude every day before I get out of bed, I'm always in a peak mental state. Thank you. Good. We're up to 50 likes. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Cool. Okay. And Eric wrote, is 150 pages for a business plan the optimum length? There's no really set length. I would say do a minimum of 100 if you can, including exhibits with financial statements, etc. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Nedaritu wrote, the merge did address your issue, changing Ethereum from being inflationary to deflationary. Haroun, thank you. Okay. All right, next up, Eric wrote, I read this morning that the company who settles stock trades, Clearinghouse, will be moving to Ethereum. How should I best monetize this intel? Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea about that. I know that custodial services are basically virtual now, like CIBC Mellon, et cetera, and State Street. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I guess by investing in Ethereum, maybe, after you do the research. Yeah. Hari, how are you? Hari, I'm looking forward to talking to your son as well. We exchange wonderful emails, and we're talking soon. Thank you. Hari is from Minnesota. He is one of the top experts on the planet in terms of glass. He's got some incredible groundbreaking innovations that I can't talk about, but one day I want to, if you let me. Thank you. You wrote, congratulations on the 200th episode. Thank you, Hari. I appreciate that. God bless you. And it was so wonderful meeting you in person here last December. Thank you. Okay, Orca wrote, please don't get the booster, just research, clear as a bell. Yeah. So here's what happened with me. So I did the first Pfizer shot, a year ago, whatever it was. And then I did the second Pfizer shot. And the second Pfizer shot, I got so sick. It was for 5 days. And I told myself, I'm not going to get the booster because I'd rather get COVID. And then I got COVID this past July, and it was awful. I should not have done my webcast. I was stubborn. I kept doing this. I didn't miss a single class for my students, my MBA students. I really should have taken a break. And the problem with me, one of my many problems, is I'm such a positive person that a lot of times when I feel sick, I condition myself to not feel sick, to not feel pain. And so I exercised when I thought I was starting to feel better when I had COVID. And it got worse. I got pneumonia. Then I had heart complications. I'm totally fine now. I'm actually healthier today than I was before COVID. I'm just getting started. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna get the booster. Yeah. I'm gonna look into it. Yeah. But anybody that's got COVID now, please be careful, especially if you have loved ones that have COVID that are older like me. If they get a cough when they feel like they're feeling better, please drive them to the hospital or your doctor to get a chest x-ray. I had pneumonia, and you got to get a chest x-ray for that. My brother and my dad, thank God they're radiologists. That means they fix radios. They told me to get a chest x-ray, which could have saved my life. Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Alex P. Alex P. Keaton. People used to call me Alex P. Keaton when I was younger in Canada. You wrote, congrats on 200 episodes. Hell yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Surreal, huh? Craziness. 200. Nutty. Just like me. Okay. Next up, I have got here, and actually, Alexa, cancel my 9:45 a.m. alarm.
9:45 a.m. alarm canceled.
Okay, because that was to remind me to do the gold thing. Okay, let me think of the question now for you guys to see who's going to win the gold MBA program. All right, I got to think of something. Let me think. All right, this is going to be based on a question that I answered earlier today. Okay, I got it. All right, so the question is... Beautiful day here, man. Gorgeous day. The question is this. And whoever answers this question correctly will get my gold MBA program for free that starts on September 30th. And to learn more, go to harounmba.com. Earlier today, I talked about a certain government bond that yields a certain percent. And I showed it to you on a website. What was the exact percent? Whoever answers it first, just the first person I see here, will get my gold for free. Again, earlier today, I went to a certain government website. Okay? And on that website, there's a certain, it's Dan Sanchez. Dan, you won! Woo! Nicely done, Dan. Perfect. 9.62%. Das ist richtig. You are right. All right. Winner, chicken dinner. Okay. Excellent. So congratulations. Let's see. Dan was first there. Eric, you were close. Dan wrote it there. So Dan Sanchez, congratulations. Please email support at harounventures.com. Again, that's support at harounventures.com. And I will send you the password, the coupon to get gold for free. And again, to learn more about the gold program or to set up a one-on-one, anybody with me to discuss it in more detail, go to this web address here. Congrats. Yeah. Dan, it might take me 2 days to get back to you on that. Yeah, thanks. But you got the coupon for sure. And I'm looking forward to working with you. It'll be fun. All right. Okay. Next up, Rita, who's in my platinum program from Melbourne. He's a class act, wealth of knowledge. He wrote, "Good morning, Chris from Melbourne. I love the sky blue jacket. It's classy. 5 out of 5. Thanks. It means the world coming from you. Appreciate that. Thank you." Okay. Next up, we got Michelle from Texas, who wrote, "Chris, why do you think Bitcoin and crypto price in general are so tied to inflation?" Yeah. So when interest rates go up, which usually happens in inflationary periods, when interest rates go up, the most speculative assets get murdered, right? So NFTs have gotten destroyed. So have a lot of cryptocurrencies, which are speculative. And the reason is, if interest rates go up, more people want to buy bonds, like that 9.62% yielding bond. Congratulations, Dan, answering that correctly. They put their more money into safer asset classes, like government bonds, for example. And for example, if we go back to the early 1980s and compare and contrast that era with today, that era, you had Paul Volcker, who's the Federal Reserve chairperson, God bless him, he passed away. He increased interest rates to 20%. Because inflation was about that high. Things were brutal back then, man. Unemployment was above 10%. It was awful. And as a result of interest rates being about 20%, the stock market did terrible. Like, why would you buy stocks if you're going to get a 20% return on government bonds? Also, hardly any companies were founded. There was no innovation. And any speculative assets, real estate, everything got destroyed. And so there's that inverse correlation between higher interest rates and the performance of speculative assets. Yeah. And even any small change in interest rates massively impacts the stock market because a lot of hedge funds, they lever up. They borrow tons of money to invest. And when interest rates were zero, back in 2020 and 2021, hedge funds borrowed a lot. They levered up to invest in the market. They made a fortune. And any small increase in interest rates means they can't lever up as much. It's all relative. Yeah. Okay. And then Rita wrote, "Congratulations on your 200. Thank you. Appreciate it." Okay. We got about 10 minutes left. I don't think we're going to have time for Zoom today. But if anybody wants, so any people in my Silver MBA program, which you could purchase from this web address here, go to the first lecture in your curriculum, and I'll see you guys just after 10 a.m. today for our 1-hour weekly Zoom. And for those of you in my Platinum and Gold program, I'll see you at 11:20 today for our 2-hour weekly Zoom and one-on-ones as well. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Arjun wrote, "Hey, Chris, congrats on 200 episodes. Thank you. Any advice on how to come up with a logo and a name for a company which provides flexibility for branding and marketing?" Yeah. I would say, so I've gone to Fiverr.com before and paid literally $5 to get logos created for my fictitious brands. Like Shark Virtual Reality, I paid $5 for that. Morgan Haroun Sachs, another fictitious logo I done there as well. You can go there. It's pretty cheap to get it done there. If you want to get somebody that's a little bit higher end, you might want to go to Upwork, which will cost you hundreds of dollars, but it'll be high class. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I have got here, Ferenc wrote, "Congrats, Chris, on the 200th Q&A. Thank you. I appreciate it." And then Eric, who's my silver program, and I'll see you at 10 a.m. today, wrote, I know people who haven't paid income taxes in 20 years. Yeah. So really rich people, they're rich for a reason. Really wealthy people, they don't really pay much in taxes in certain years. I'll give you an example. So Jeff Bezos in 2007, when he was already a billionaire, did not pay any taxes. And the reason he didn't pay any, and he claimed actually on his tax return $4,000 for each of his 4 kids. The reason he didn't pay taxes then, and the reason a lot of billionaires don't pay taxes every year, is because they don't earn a salary really. they make money based on stock options. So if he sells a ton of shares, then yes, he pays taxes. But in 2007, he did not sell any shares in Amazon. And people like Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel was the first notable investor in Facebook. He was also the co-founder of PayPal, along with Max Levchin, before Elon Musk joined. But Peter Thiel, he put PayPal, and he also put Palantir, which is a private company I invested in VC years ago. He put both those investments in his Roth IRA, right? And so your Roth IRA, you can put $6,000 in. He put both those investments in his Roth IRA. And a Roth IRA is like a 401k, except you pay tax first, then you put the money in. And when it grows, you take it out, you don't pay tax. So he put PayPal and Palantir in his Roth IRA, which is $6,000 a year max. And that amount is worth between $5 and $10 billion now. He can take that money out tax-free. So these really wealthy people, what they do is they hire tax accountants, right? And these tax lawyers, it's brutal when you talk to them, man. It's like $800 or $900 an hour, but it really pays off for them. It's kind of like the rest of us hiring accountants, which I think we should all do. Yeah. And the rich stay rich, the uber wealthy, I should say, partially because they figure out how to pay less in taxes. So you wrote, I know people haven't paid taxes in 20 years. People in jail are not there for taxes because the law doesn't exist. Tax evasion, no, you can go to jail for tax evasion. You certainly can. That's Wesley Snipes, the great actor. He spent time in jail for that. Yeah. And Al Capone actually spent time in Alcatraz, which is just an island jail here, which used to be open off the coast of San Francisco because of tax evasion. Not because of the murders. The government couldn't find any issues with that. It was tax evasion. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Arjun wrote, can you change company names, logo, if you learned along the way that you made a mistake and it wasn't good for marketing purposes for products and services company is offering? Is there a better way to do it? Yeah. Oh, it's hard, man. Rebranding. Like some companies, I think it was Pepsi, paid over $1 billion for their new logo. So did the Gap, and the Gap had to change it back. But there are focus groups that you can hire to do what's called A/B testing, to test if the logo is going to work or not. Yeah. What I recommend doing is hiring a professional. I did that actually for my logo for Haroun Education Ventures. And so when I did it, this person, the graphic designer, asked me a couple questions. He said, what's your personality like? And I said, well, I'm very optimistic, right? And so he put an up arrow in the H part of the logo, which is what FedEx did. But FedEx is forward speaking. And if you look at my logo, you'll see that. He also asked me, what are your favorite colors? And I said blue and green. And why? Blue because of the Toronto Blue Jays, which is best team ever. Okay, if anybody tells me what the names are of these three players within the next 60 seconds, you'll also win my gold MBA. Okay, but I'm gonna put a timer on. Hold on, that was the timer telling me to wrap up this webcast. This will be fun. All right, and this is for my one-on-one meetings. So let me go here, and I'm gonna go, let's see, 1 minute. Okay, I gotta wrap this up in a minute. You have to type in the names of all three of these players in the next 60 seconds, okay? And I'm watching, so the webcast is 10 seconds behind. There's a delay, so I'll watch the delay. So it'll be an extra 10 seconds. Whoever types in the name of these three wins the gold MBA. So anyway, but blue and green are my favorite colors. I like green because it's environmentally friendly as well. And I put green down, a little bit splash of green down there as well. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. All right, let me see if anybody has answered this. I'm dating myself. No answer yet. Okay. All right. Now, I see there's a lot more questions. Unfortunately, I can't answer them all. I'm going to have to wrap up this call now. If you're my silver MBA, I'll see you at 10 a.m. Oh, hold on a second. Nope. Wendy guessed. Okay. Wendy guessed. Is it Roberto Alomar, Paul Mulder, and John Olerud? No, very good. You're thinking of 1992 Blue Jays when we won the World Series, 1993 with Mulder. and Alamar. This is from I'm not going to tell you the year, and I know the year. I'm not going to say it because you guys will get it. Yeah. So nobody won. Okay. All right. It was the best outfield in baseball back in 1987. And here it's Jesse Barfield, number 29, George Bell, number 11. He won the MVP in 1987. So nobody wins, sorry. And then Lloyd Mosby, Lloyd, 2 L's, who he played center field. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you everybody for being a part of this 200th episode. Here's to 200 more, at least thousands more. To learn more about my MBA program, go to harounmba.com. I'd love to have you join us. I end all my webcasts with this money advice from Steve Jobs, which I licensed from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. And I will see you guys all next week and every week. If you want to learn more about my MBA program and book a one-on-one call with me to talk about joining gold or platinum, please go to that web address there. I guess I can use my hands instead of my chin. All right, guys. Thank you. And thank you, Ritesh, and thank you, everybody. Thanks. And again, if I didn't answer your question, just ask me next week or during our office hours for silver, platinum, gold later today. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.